Aloha, this is Pastor Tom Choi welcoming you to our Wednesday check-in for December 2nd, 2020. Tomorrow we will be having our annual meeting called the Charge Conference. It will be the first time with our new district superintendent, Reverend Moon-Young Lee. The role of the district superintendent, or DS, is kind of like the superintendent of schools. The school superintendent is the overall authority for the school district, and individual principals are in charge of each school. In our Hawaii district, Reverend Lee is in charge overall, although she is ultimately accountable, at least here on earth, to Bishop Grant Hagia. The pastors are each responsible for and in charge of individual churches. The DS has a once-a-year meeting to cover the official business of the church. Sometimes, when the DS is not available, another ordained pastor, called an elder, can preside over a charge conference. This annual meeting with the United Methodist denominational leader of our area began on the prairie in the 1800s. The Methodist Church grew very fast in the first half of the 19th century. So fast, in fact, that there weren't enough ordained pastors to serve each church. So the practice that evolved was that there were 13 church circuits organized, and an ordained elder would go to each of the 13 churches every week. 13 times 4 equals 52, so in a year you would have these visits once a quarter. The ordained elder would preach and hold a business meeting called a quarterly conference. Our Tongan churches preserve this tradition with their own quarterly meeting of the Tongan ministries in the area called the Kuata, or quarter. In addition, because in the Methodist Church only ordained elders can celebrate Holy Communion, a church would ordinarily have communion once every quarter. This tradition was so ingrained that in many Methodist churches they will only do communion once a quarter, and doing it more often was regarded as non-Methodist. As the number of ordained elders began to catch up with the number of churches, there was a lower need for the quarterly meeting and quarterly communion, and it eventually became an annual meeting, and a lot of churches, like we do, celebrate communion once a month. So this week we will be kind of recalling that tradition, where we will have our charge conference tomorrow, and this Sunday we will have Holy Communion. Now, if you read the title of this check-in, you will notice that it said Conference, Communion, and Deep Fried Turkey. Well, this year, as I have for the past 22 years, I deep fried turkey for Thanksgiving. It's actually not as bad as it sounds. The frying sears the skin and the meat is moist and not greasy at all. Over the years, I'm still perfecting the process, and this year I learned something that made a big difference. It was a tip that I learned from two celebrity chefs, Gordon Ramsay and Jeffrey Zakarian. Both of them, on different occasions and shows, said that one of the most important things to do when preparing turkey is that once you have finished the cooking process, whether it's frying or roasting or whatever, is that you let the turkey rest for at least as long as you cooked the turkey. That's what Gordon Ramsay says. Jeffrey Zakarian was a little more specific, and he said that you let it rest for at least 90 minutes, which is actually longer than it takes to fry a turkey. But the results were great. I brought the turkey out of the fryer a little earlier than usual, and it continued to cook to come up to temperature over those 90 minutes, and the turkey was tender and moist. I'm always going to do turkey this way if I can. Now, this tip works in our faith and life as well. During this season, it is all about the activity, the things that we do, the hustle and bustle and scurrying around. But if we don't take some time to wait and let things come together, the results of our faith and the quality of life won't be as good. But if we take time to wait and reflect, it will be much better. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." We will be busy and active this season, but let's set aside time to wait on the Lord, renew our strength, and have our spirits soaring like eagles' wings. Amen. Our Zoom prayer starts in a few moments. Join us this Sunday at 10 a.m. for online worship in English, where we will have Holy Communion, and I will preach on the sermon, "Who Do You Say Jesus Is?" As usual, we will have live prayers and wonderful music. I hope you'll join us. Our Tongue Worship is online at 11. Until then, wait on the Lord and renew your strength this season and always. Amen.